are more people out each weekend knocking on doors for the Yes campaign than there are for the No campaign. There are a greater number of activists for Yes. They're suddenly noisier. And because of that, because there are lots of them and they're noisy, they make a lot of noise, they speak, they organise a lot of meetings and so on, where you get a lot of people who are going to vote yes, coming along to applaud how brilliant the idea of independence is and how wise and sagacious yes voters are. Because of that, I think there's a lot of time in the Yes campaign that they spend so much time talking to one another that I think they too easily believe their own message and so on. They find it quite difficult, I think, to understand why anyone could honestly disagree with them, how you could be a good faith unionist and so on, because they're so convinced of the righteousness of their own cause, that they failed to see that actually it's only one of the many choices available to Scotland, and it's not necessarily one that has persuaded people yet. It's not that Scotland couldn't be independent. I mean, of course it could. Everybody actually agrees on that. But it's a question of whether it's necessary. And for a lot of people it isn't. That's not just because of their economic status or the fact that they're actually comfortably off and so on. It's also because for many people, and it's inconvenient for the Yes side to hear this and so on, but many people actually have a quite significant attachment to the United Kingdom. They actually quite like being British. They may be Scottish first, but they're also British. And so it comes down to a question of identity as well, this debate. It's not just a matter of accountancy, although much of the campaign has obviously tried to persuade us that it is essentially just a balance sheet enterprise, or something that should be subjected to cost-benefit analysis, which is fine as far as it goes, but it doesn't actually go very far, and it produces a rather sort of thin and bloodless campaign, I think. But yes, you've got this sort of army of Yes campaigners going door to door and so on, as a sort of ground war, whereas the No campaign is more of an air war, if you like, more reliant on traditional media, big media, if you like, old media certainly, and as a result, I think, again, the military analogy and so on, proponents of air power always overstate its efficiency, and I think there's a risk to the No campaign on that. But at the same time, you see the sort of grassroots element of the No side beginning to up its game now. I think there's obviously a recognition from both campaigns that it's the last 6 weeks in particular that will have the sort of decide the outcome. And there's no point in wasting your ammunition too early, if you like. I'm not sure. Again, nothing new has actually been introduced in this campaign. There are no new techniques or approaches to political campaigning that have come into this and so on. Because the rules of how to win a political campaign are basically the same as they always have been. So there's not actually been any great novelty in this, I don't think. What to make of claims that the Yes campaign has been more positive than the No campaign? Well, it's a claim that's chiefly made by members of the Yes campaign, and there's some truth to it. I mean, by definition, a No campaign, or a campaign asking people to vote No, is going to have some negative qualities to it. At the same time, it's also true that the Yes side's vision of a possible Scotland, or of one of the many possible Scotlands after independence, is reasonably positive. It is also the case, however, that the Yes campaign has spent an awful lot of time accentuating the negative impact of a no vote. Scotland's block grant from Westminster will be slashed, powers will be stripped from Holyrood and returned to Westminster. Who knows what other sort of grievous injury we will endure if there's a no vote, because apparently the UK government at Westminster will want to avenge itself on the uppity jocks who had the presumption to think that they could vote for independence. And equally, if you vote no, there might be another Tory government in Westminster and so on, and Holyrood no longer has the power or the ability to resist the worst things that a Conservative government can do and so on. Apparently Holyrood has now become, Holyrood, which was extremely powerful in 2007 when the SNP campaigned for a vote for the SNP to use the full powers of Holyrood to protect the Scottish people and so on and advance the Scottish interest. Now, apparently, after a no vote in this referendum, Holyrood would be so toothless and so on, it'd be impossible to resist English encroachment and a new rough wooing, if you like, which is fine. That's the sort of sleight of hand in which political campaigns indulge. But you can't credibly, on the one hand, say, well, of course, this referendum campaign isn't at all about anything to do with Alex Salmond or the SNP, but it is, of course, a lot to do with David Cameron and the Conservative parties. You can't have it both ways, although, the nationalists, delight in trying to have their cake and eat it. And again, of course, there's a negativity in saying that Britain is broken, Britain has failed, Britain is a clapped-out sclerotic state that can no longer function and certainly can't adapt itself to meet changing circumstances or changing aspirations. I mean, I think that's a mistaken analysis and so on, but you certainly couldn't confuse it for a positive analysis, could you?